Is 20th. We are here in person and in hybrid Zoom. Tonight's agenda is call to order, pledge allegiance, recognition of visitors for items not on the agenda. Tonight's agenda under reports, we have managers, financial, and department. Under new business, we have utility truck RFP results, RSU 16 warrant, Androscoggin Budget Committee discussion, tax commitment discussion, payables, and any other business. And with that, if we could do a Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So I just want to also announce that Mary Ann is currently at an RSU 16 budget meeting, which she's been our representative attending, so she's there, probably will be joining us a little later in tonight's meeting. So with that, Matt, what we have visitors for?
We have two visitors. I don't know if you want to ask any questions right now or just kind of see how things unfold.
Not just yet.
See how things unfold. So what's the purpose of this meeting? I guess that was my question.
Oh, this is the bi-monthly select board meeting. And you can see from the agenda we have a number of items that we'll be discussing.
Okay, great. Then I guess we can move on to page 2, the manager's report.
Okay, manager report for 20 August. At the August 6th select board meeting, I was asked to look at the speed through the Route 26-122 intersection. It was reported a motorcycle rider thought tractor trailers are going by at excessive speed while stopped to make a turn. Talked to the chief deputy about this, and he reminded me the speed is 40 miles an hour through that intersection. Other intersections are 35, so it's a little faster for people that are going through there. They did have the speed sign up there. We pulled the data from it just to see what was going on, but it's looking too far up the hill to see anything going through the intersection. The idea of putting it up there is it's a new traffic light, is to slow people down, and it is. So I think part of that might be people getting used to that new intersection. As I see, received a very similar complaint right after the traffic light was put in. And I'm sure motorcycle riders would be a bit sensitive to these big tractor trailers go by, but our ASO folks are aware of that and will continue to monitor that intersection. Paving, the next step is put the finished paving on Lewiston Junction Road, which is weather dependent. It's ready to go, we just need the weather, and then we've got other roads teed up once we get that one done. MMA Legislative Policy Committee, I was re-elected to that. Re-enrolled in the Community Resilience Partnership, which preserves our eligibility for future grant opportunities. And pending questions, that's the manager report.
When does the MMA start with looking at stuff for the legislature?
Thursday.
Oh, they do start that early. Okay.
Yeah, they. So they'll have meetings probably monthly throughout the fall. To develop an agenda and to see what members of the committee are thinking, what initiatives are out there, and there's probably some bills teed up that people need to have a look at.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, let's move on to financials.
Okay, we're 13.46% through the year. I mean, that's going quick. One item I want to point out on revenue for motor vehicle excise is that we're slightly above where the glide slope, we're at 16.25%, which is a good thing. On the expense report, the expense summary, which I'll brief off tonight, general is high. Why? It's at 52.54 because we paid the county tax. If you go down to community service planning and development, is a little bit higher. Why? Because we paid fees that occur at the beginning of the fiscal year for those folks. Going down, conservation, we paid the the dam bill, and we'll transfer the conservation money over shortly. The social services and town library, we transferred those funds over to those areas. Law enforcement, we paid the contract, and then if you go down to animal control again, we paid the part of the contract on that. And then the big one at the bottom is RSU 16. We paid the assessment. So we're still very early in the fiscal year. No issues to report. And pending any questions, that's the financial report.
I'll entertain a motion.
Move we accept the financial reports as presented.
Your second?
Second.
Thank you, John. I know the answer to this question, but why does the county feel that they can get their full payment at the beginning of the year?
That's just a good question, probably because that's what they invoice. They don't do it monthly. It's not a very satisfactory answer. It's probably the way they've always done it. I think that's probably why.
Yeah, I just, the reality is that the state doesn't give us our revenue sharing in one lump sum. They do it quarterly,
Yeah.
I think, right? And they don't give us a homestead that way. So it seems to be the only bill external to the town that is, paid in the front thing. I mean, we don't even do the sheriff contract is not done that way. So, yeah, I mean, we're 7 weeks into the year, so yeah, you pay 1/4, and that's more than
Well,
7
if I could
weeks, so you
ask,
see the numbers, but I just feel like,
I'll ask the county administrator, if they can, why they can't change that and do it quarterly or some other periodicity.
Or
the next time
at
we
least
do it.
find out if there's be any penalty if we did it quarterly, and then we just automatically do it quarterly.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. Remember, the ASO folks work for them.
the money's there, but the money would sit in earned interest for a period of time. So, when the bill's $1.4 million, then it's kind of like, it'd be nice to break that down into
Sure.
four installments or something along those lines. And then the other question I had, and I just don't know, the RSU, we've got it at 10.143 million. I thought it was 9.8 or some number like that.
It will, those numbers just haven't been adjusted yet because we're waiting for a final to come in so we can adjust it.
So what we've paid thus far is to the 10.1 million rate, or the
The first
9
payment in July was to the 10.1 million. Then we
Okay.
had a credit towards our August payment, which was to the 9.8 million,
and credited.
and credited 38,000
Mhm.
to that one. And then our next one will be to the 981 for seven.
So the
August.
1.6 is on the curve for the 9.8.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? With that, we can do a vote.
John DeSantis.
Yes.
Stan Tetman.
Yes.
Steve Robinson.
Yes.
Lisa Albee.
Yes.
By a vote 4-0, you have approved the financial reports as presented.
So moving on to the next part of the agenda is department reports, beginning on page 30. This is where all the departments of the town show a report. And any comments or questions as we go through, beginning with the sheriff's report? Fire rescue, any comments, questions?
No, we'll talk a little more about fire rescue in a minute. Cody's doing fine. Camp is over for the summer.
I was gonna say, fire and rescue last year, I think they have like 1,200 calls or something like that, 1,200.
Yeah, they're probably,
I think that's what it was, because it's up to 730 already. At that pace, we'll be doing 1,400 calls.
yeah.
And we've got planning development in the CEO office. Move on to public works. I know that they've been very, very busy this year with fixing and doing the things, and say nothing about our road work plan for the season.
Yeah, they're always busy.
And then you already talked about Parks and Recreation. Connor is closed, so they're always busy. Anything else? No other comments? So we can move on to page 46, which is the RFP truck, utility truck results for the fire department.
So we sent this out, we only got one bid in from a Quirk, and that was in the amount of $63,425. The fire rescue chief took a little bit of time, reviewed the bid. It's the truck that he's looking for. We think it's a reasonable price and would recommend that the board approve the bid so we can move forward and purchase this vehicle. We have $83,564 in that particular CIP line.
Do we know how long it's gonna take to get that? I don't know, it's like some of the...
He's got up to 90 days in the bid document here, but hopefully we'll get it sooner.
Oh, okay, so it's relatively quick. It's not one of these things that's
Oh, no.
year out type thing.
Yeah, this is not a specialized vehicle here, like an ambulance, for example. It's just a regular truck that he's going to use for utility vehicle.
Can I ask you a question on that?
Please, go ahead
Sure.
and just say who you are for
Steve
everybody.
Dick. Is there an issue with his existing vehicle?
The existing vehicle is a little over 15 years old, but we're not getting rid of it. We're going to transfer that to our Public Works Department.
Okay, so it's fully depreciated at this point?
Yeah, at this point it is.
Okay, and you see the need to get a new vehicle for the fire chief, is that correct?
For the fire department.
For the fire department?
Mhm.
Okay, all right. And your RFPs go out to who? Just,
They go out to area car dealers,
okay,
and then we post them on our website, post them on the Maine Municipal Association website, so that people that aren't in the immediate area could bid on them if they so chose to.
is there any option to get, say, a 5-year-old one? Set up in the same operation? Because I know they're specialized vehicles, you have the lights on them and so on.
You know, we intend to keep this vehicle for over 15 years. We think the best value for money is to buy a new vehicle. And the way we look at it, when we get rid of the old one, we don't just toss it to the side. In this case, it's going to go over to Public Works, and they'll stay there for some years because they only need to use it locally to move Public Works crew from job site to job site.
Okay. And that doesn't sound unreasonable for a new truck. 63 grand for a truck outfitted with lights? Because I assume it has lights and sirens?
Not yet, but it will.
So is that in addition to?
That'll be a little bit more in addition, yes. This is for the truck.
So are they taking the chassis of, what's the back chassis going to be?
It's a kind of a flatbed on the utility truck, but they'll put a different type of flatbed on this one.
So it's not 63,000, it's 63,000 plus?
Plus whatever
Yes.
bits and pieces we need to put in there.
Has anyone figured out what that's gonna cost?
We think that's going to cost maybe about $7 grand.
Oh, so you're still under your,
Or it'd be under the CIP amount, of course, yeah.
okay.
Yeah. And many times with the lights in that package, sometimes it's transferable from the existing vehicles. They don't need that in the public, in this case, the Public Works thing, so.
I wouldn't transfer it off a 15-year-old vehicle. I wouldn't.
Again, I don't know how old they are. I mean, I just know that it's been done before, but can't speak to the case.
But we're going to keep this vehicle for a long time, so we want to make sure we set it up correctly. And Steve, did that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
I move that we accept the bid of Quirk Ford for the Poland Fire Rescue Utility vehicle in the amount of $63,425.
Have a second? You saying second?
You said second, I'll second. I think you
No,
said, I think you said
can
I'll
I do a
second.
second? I can't make a motion or
Yeah, you
second.
can't do
Make a
that,
motion
okay.
or
Yeah, I
second.
second that, yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion?
I actually have a couple questions.
Sure.
So this, obviously, I wasn't on the board when this all happened. So I was just curious why we're not replacing it with a like vehicle to the one that we currently had. If there was a reason that this one's got the dualies instead of just the regular tires and...
Well, in that case, you know, I've got to defer to what the fire rescue chief sets as the requirement for the vehicle, so, you know, I don't think that's an unreasonable capability to have.
No, I was just curious. And this is going to be used as a brush truck, as the other one was previously, or does this have other things that we're going to use it for?
Be used as a
or-
brush truck, and then, you know, they'll use it for a lot of other things as well, but it'll be used as a brush truck.
Yeah, okay.
What exactly is a brush truck?
So currently, Utility One at Poland Fire Rescue is a pickup truck. I can't remember if it's 2,500 or 3,500, I don't remember off the top of my head. And it's outfitted with a skid unit, has a 250-gallon tank on it, so that
Gotcha.
when there's a brush fire, it can get into places that an engine can't, or the rough camp roads, and so you can get 250 gallons of water on a fire really quick.
And a dually would be beneficial in that respect?
I don't know, that's what my question
I
was.
don't know either.
Yeah, yeah.
Probably better from a weight perspective if they really do put a lot of
Mhm.
gear and water onto the thing. And it is four-wheel drive, the vehicle, which we would expect.
Yeah. And I'm also, again, it's looking at the picture, it doesn't have a bench seat behind the front seat like the current utility does.
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
Any other questions or comment?
John DeSantis.
Yes.
Stan Tetman.
Yes.
Steve Robinson.
Yes.
Lisa Alden.
Yes.
By a vote 4-0, you have approved the RFP bid to Ford for the amount of $63,425.
So if the upgrade's $7,000, what happens to the excess?
What happens to what, Steve?
The amount of money over and above what needs to be put into it?
It's in the CIP.
Yeah, we have that budgeted, we have that set aside. So it's in a CIP, which over the years, the life of the truck, we've been putting a little bit of money into every year, so it's not like a one-year bill that we have to pay. We've been saving up slowly to pay for that.
It stays in that
It
CIP.
stays in the...
Yeah, it stays in that CIP for the
okay.
next
Yeah.
purchase.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
that's what's great about them, and we do put a little money in all the time, and then when you've got, you know, if we have 13,000 in this case, or thereabouts, overage or whatever, that just means that when we come to doing the CIP in the future, you know, we won't necessarily have to put as much in there every year in that budget line, because we got 13,000 that we started, we weren't cleaned out to zero or something close to that or whatever, but
Okay.
when it comes budget time, we kind of work that out. And of course, you have to, okay, 15 years from now, what's it gonna cost to build one, right? So you try to do that, build that into the price of things obviously going up and kind of plan on that, but
Gotcha.
great questions. I want to quickly, I think, jump to the Androscoggin Budget Committee discussion, and then we'll talk about RSU warrant and tax commitment, more back to back. So it was brought to my attention, and I think that there's nobody from our town, or even, I think this person is from Minot, that spoke to me, is from Minot on
Yeah, I
the
think
things.
so.
But there's nobody representing our town, because Jane used to do that and was our representative to go to the county budget meetings. So they reached out to me and sent me an email, and I forwarded on to get onto the agenda tonight to discuss if there's any of us that would like to be on the county budget committee. And represent. The information that I have is that they typically meet 4 times roughly, and they typically meet on Wednesdays, and they typically begin at 6 p.m. in the county building in Auburn.
When is it that they meet?
It would,
I think they're gonna start fairly soon.
yeah, I think it begin in September.
I
And
think
we
the
can,
25th, if I remember right. Is that a Wednesday?
You're saying they meet
Yeah.
4 times a year or 4 times a month?
4 times in the total budget season for them,
Oh,
and then
okay.
they're done. Just like when we have our budget thing, we'll meet for 3 or 4 meetings and with the budget committee, and then it's done. So this is,
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm sorry,
25th is a Wednesday, and I'm pretty sure that's what the email said that, so the
Yeah.
first meeting will be toward the end of next month.
yeah, so towards the end of September. So that, and probably in through October timeframe or whatever, then they'll create a budget for the county and then go set it, and that will, if it's ratified by the commissioners and all that type of stuff, then that becomes their budget to move forward, and we get to pay our share again. So, is there anybody that would like to be?
What does that entail?
Like that.
I mean, what do you just sit on it and that's it?
Correct. Get input, gather the information,
And bring it
give
to-
feedback,
And then bring it,
and then, keep us informed would be great to how it's proceeding and what they're looking at, and what's presented to them. Obviously, the sheriff's department, and between the regular patrol stuff and the jail and then the other things, they'll all come in and present to the budget committee. This is why we're asking for whatever budget, and then you get to ask questions.
Yeah,
I do.
Jane and I talked a little about her service on the budget committee, and she thought it was worthwhile, because apparently not every member of the budget committee shows up to these meetings, so when you're there, you have an outsized presence. And she felt that she made a contribution. She was able to ask questions, and the county budget is one of these things that, I don't have a good sense for how that's put together and how that's done, so I think it's good for Poland to have a representative on that committee. Maybe they can ask if we can pay quarterly.
Exactly.
and where's that held?
In
The county building.
The county building right on the corner of Court and, is that Turner?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any volunteers?
And I get 2 Wednesdays, and I know I couldn't make it.
I'm pretty busy with school board.
John, are you?
Oh, is that me?
You're on.
All eyes are on me.
Process of elimination.
Yeah, I guess so. Hey, where's Mary Ann? No. Yeah, I'll represent Poland.
All right, I'll entertain a motion by,
I
Either one of you.
move that John DeSantis be our representative on the Androscoggin Budget Committee.
Second.
okay, for the discussion, we can vote?
John DeSantis,
Yes.
Stan Tetman,
Yes.
Steve Robinson,
Yes.
Lisa Elby.
Yes.
By a vote 4-0, you have approved having John DeSantis represent the town of Poland on the Androscoggin Budget Committee.
So Nikki, do you want to respond to that email on her, or do you want me to do it?
We can do it.
Yeah, I'll send something to the county administrator, and, because he'll know how to get John
Copy
looped
it.
into the budget, and get him any group emails and that kind of stuff.
The group email and all that type of stuff, so sounds good. Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Okay, page 67 is the RSU warrant. So this portion of the discussion is, given the rejection of the previous warrant, this is the process of setting up on Tuesday, September 17th, for us to have polls open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So I'd entertain a motion on this.
Was that page 67? I accidentally closed
Yes,
myself out.
yes it is.
Thank you. Okay.
I make a motion that we approve the warrant for the RSU 16 budget validation referendum.
And I'll second that.
Thank you. Any other discussion on this?
So basically, we're talking about taking another vote.
Right. So this is, given the town, we actually have to do the authority to do the vote and stuff. The RSU doesn't have the authority to call and do polls. They don't pay for the people to run the things or do the things. That's an expense on the town.
So the town's going to pay to do a third vote on a budget.
Yes.
We've already knocked down twice.
Yes.
What are the other options?
It really
Do it
isn't,
via
to get the
Zoom?
to get the people's, opinion and vote. There is, and I don't know if I have it here or where I have the hard copy of, there is a schedule they will hold, on the 28th of this month, they will hold a school board meeting to discuss the budget and to move forward the budget that they're going to move forward with to the district budget. That will be held at the auditorium at the school.
I think that's September 5th.
Yes.
Then the district budget meeting is September 5th. The district budget meeting is a budget meeting, or the thing where they go through warrant by warrant to the different departmental groups and groupings of the school budget, and it has to be then authorized. The people there authorize it, or they make the motion to lower it, and if it's approved by a motion and a second, and the majority of the people who are at that meeting vote to lower it to that number, that is the number that gets moved forward.
Who counts the number of hands?
We have our clerks of all three towns end up being there and counting the hands. And they sign you in with all three towns, and you
Okay.
become a registered voter, just like when you show up at the polls here, all that type of stuff, and support that type of thing, so.
What happens if it's shot down the third time?
Then they get to move on to a fourth time. It's not, we set the tax rate. We set the tax rate based upon the value, the bill they received by statute of the state, which was what passed the district meeting the last time, and then got shot down the second time. That's what we had to set the tax rate to. When they actually get a budget to pass the three communities, whatever that budget is, assuming that it's lower than the budget that just got rejected, then we get to save that money, if you will, and apply it into next year's thing. So we will continue to pay the school district, a higher budget than will, in theory, be adopted,
No.
right?
Nope, we don't pay them a higher budget. Our bill will be reduced, but the town of Poland holds on to the extra that's collected. So let's say a $7 million budget is finally approved by the voters. The 2.8 million extra that is in the tax bills, the town of Poland has to put into a special account. And next year, before we send out tax bills, we'll take the school assessment and we'll deduct that $2.8 million from it. And that's the amount we will pay them next year.
So the exorbitant tax increase that the residents of Poland are being forced to pay, we're still going to pay, you're just going to hold on to it? That's insanity.
As opposed
That is
to
insanity.
returning it in some fashion.
Or just not charging us an exorbitant amount of taxes.
But that's state law, though, isn't it?
It's state law.
That's state law.
How do we fight against this? This is insane.
Speaking personal opinion, one of the things that seems to be in existence with at the state level, and we've spoken to representatives here, and I got to see a couple this last weekend, and said that there's two different sets of books in how the state operates. One for the town and one for school districts in the Department of Education. And the one for the town, by state statute, we have to use last year's budget. Okay? That's it. End of story. That's what we have to do until, if we were to call a special town meeting or something, then we could try to move forward with the budget if it got rejected during our town meeting process and voting. For the school, you understand where that's at. And it's different for the Board of Education. The other factors that are different for me, is that they have this schedule and this voting schedule and unlike on the municipal side, you know, we have to sign our warrant, put it out there, and people get to vote absentee and do all the things for a period of
30 days.
30 days prior. Here they are, have a district meeting on September 5th and have a vote 12 days later, referendum thing for 12 days later. You can't turn absentee votes out to people, mail them out to anybody that can't leave their home or be a part of the thing. So in my personal opinion, strictly personally, I'm not speaking for the board, you know, people are being disenfranchised from a voting perspective because they get a different set of rules that they have to follow and do. And so I just think that, you know, it's in the state legislature's control to say, no, we're not going to do it this way, this is the way it needs to be done, just like it has to be done for the municipalities.
So I'd spoken with John previously, and basically he broke that down for me. And he said, the state, whether or not we agree with it, says, here's what you're going to pay. And you guys have to make up the difference on the taxpayers of Poland. This is like communism. This is insane. This is insane. You're going to send me a tax bill? I know someone, their tax bill increased by $5,000. Yours is what, $3,000? Mine's $1,250.
I mean,
Over and above exorbitant taxes we're already paying. And how do we change this? How do we change this?
well, and what happens if you don't? Because frankly, $9,000 for me to pay in taxes, I'm a librarian. Like,
We understand. We don't, we sit here trying to, and you know, we've got some of the data to show. I mean, we sit here trying to be reasonable on the municipal side, and I was at a meeting last week with the superintendent and representatives of mine at Mechanic Falls, and you know, they said the same thing that I think we've always felt in the years that I've been here, is that it seems like we have to try to make up for what the school's going to come and hit with, and it doesn't set the right attitude. I mean, we're all for educating our kids in the proper way, but they can't do things and run an operation that's, you know, does a 20% increase. I mean, at the end of the day.
What I found, and I've been to a couple school board meetings, is it's always the same spiel. It's always, oh, we cut ed techs, we cut this, we cut that, we cut that, we cut, oh, and we've limited this program, and the sports program, we've stopped, and we want $6 million more. That's insane. So you have less programs, a poor school, less everything, but you want more money. So they provide this budget that says we want more money for less everything. And can anyone on this board tell me what the original charter for the Poland school was?
I mean,
Are you talking-
RSU?
The original charter for the high school and middle school.
For the union, when it was the union?
No, when it was originally founded, the actual school charter.
Yeah. I'm sure we have it here. but-
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
anyway, so the school charter was based on some awful thing that's been unsuccessful throughout history. And now it's unsuccessful now. And we're paying for it. I mean, the kids are graduating, they get remedial math, remedial things. I mean, what's the college acceptance rate? And we're paying for this. And every year it goes up and up and up, and my taxes keep going up and up and up. And the school quality is just... So I don't understand why we keep doing this. I understand the state mandates it, and you guys have to tax us to pay for it. How do we change that?
I mean, obviously, as far as what the state mandates, they've got control at the state level, and it needs to change. I mean, the reality is that one of the things that I'm trying to point out to the school district in this particular case is, you know, there is $500,000 less coming from the state from last year to this future budget, because they they, like the school board says, well, it's because your evaluations of your town increased. I'm trying to point out to them, the evaluations of every town in our whole state has increased. So it's all relative. The reality is that they have 9% over the last 2 years reduction in the number of students. So when the state does the formula to what they're going to allocate to RSU 16, and then gets specific into the towns and town evaluations and student counts and all of this other stuff, the reality is that there's 10%, 9% less students. So we're getting less state aid because we have 9% less students. So this year's budget for the RSU, how it was, we'll see what moving forward, how it was to what the state would give. The state is paying 46% of the RSU 16 school budget. It's not paying 55% that you always hear at the state level of doing. The state's funding all schools across the state at the 55%, or at least that's what I believe, and I think I would be accurate in that. But the reality is, a city like Lewiston is getting the state is paying 78% of the school budget for the city of Lewiston. So what the reality is that they are seeing an influx of student count, and that's where the money's going. So do I think that the formula needs to change at the state level so that there's a bottom to what you do to our communities? My answer is yes, personally. But that's, again, I'm speaking personally here. But I don't, I think, because Oxford Hills has rejected all of theirs. They're in the same position we are in RSU 16. Even Lewiston, paying only 22% of their thing, rejected their budget twice as citizens. So, it's not a good situation.
It's a state level issue that we need to deal with.
Yes.
And
the one thing that we have requested, okay, that locally between Minot, Mechanic Falls, and ourselves, and the school board has some control over, is a funding formula within the RSU 16. So the state, there's a $28 million school budget, just to do round numbers, okay? The state says by EPS, their essential programming services, that at a minimum, the 3 towns need to pay $21 million to educate our children, okay? And they do that based upon class size things and blah, 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 and all these types of things. So there's roughly $7 million in, again, just very round terms, not exact, that is then applied to our 3 towns in our funding formula. When the RSU was created, the funding formula is 90% evaluation, 10% student count. We wrote a letter in our last meeting to formally request the school board to open up the discussion, and they have to open it up and agree as a school board to what ratio they want it to be, and then go bring it to the voters of the 3 towns, just like they do their budget, and to change that. Our opinion is it should be 100% student count. That $7 million should be based upon 100% student count. So hopefully that's what the school board brings forward to the citizens of the 3 communities. They have the option to reject it and not even change it at all. We only asked them to open it up, and they agreed to open it up. So.
Yeah, I actually have I just came from a budget meeting with the RSU. So I asked about the next steps for that, and they're reviewing it with the finance committee on Monday. They're gathering data right now. They want to figure out, what's the impact really going to be. They reviewed this back in 2016. At that time, the school board voted not to pursue it because there wasn't much of a difference. I did want to also clarify, it only applies to additional local. So it doesn't apply to the big, not here, but it would apply to additional local.
Right, it applies to.
It's a relatively small portion of Poland's.
How much money is it? I thought it was $7 million is what that.
It's this portion right here is what the cost sharing formula would affect. This is based on.
No, it's the total, the $4 million there.
Yeah.
But it's also the paying the debt.
Yeah.
local
it's
debt.
paying debt and
local-
whatever,
yeah,
so.
that's right here, yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't have a hard copy of it here, but there was the $15 million that was broken down and, you know, and how it is, and so it's local debt, it's the local share, there's some things that the buses fit under, and the like, so, again,
Yeah,
I just.
roughly, I mean,
What they
almost 3
presented
million
at the
out of
district
the
meeting
8.9
was
million.
basically $21 million was the EPS. And I know that everything beyond the EPS is, basically falls under this funding formula. So, you know, I'm just generically doing that. So the reality is today, Poland pays 67% of the school budget.
67% of my taxes.
And we have
go to
46% of the kids. Okay,
Well,
we have the largest population of kids, but we pay 67% of the budget because of evaluation, essentially.
I'm sorry, is your name Stephen?
Yes.
Stephen, really, there's two ways that this can be changed. Legislation at the state level, or there is, in the RSU statute, a way that a town can get out of the RSU 16, and that has to come from the townspeople.
So if I could just, if I could just make a comment.
Let me go.
Having 60-something% of your taxes go towards the school for the town. I have 3 kids, and my daughter went to the high school here. I'm a former teacher. She was less educated when she came out of that school and went to college and had to take remedial courses and had to relearn tons of stuff. But she knew a lot of what I would consider fairly useless information about alternatives in the world that she could explore. She wasn't taught basic English literature in a way that helped her. Her math was awful. She can probably not find most of the countries on a map. And she's not different than most of the kids in the school. Now, she did graduate college with honors, but she did that with remedial courses. And my sons, I refuse to let go here because it's so terrible. My older one went to St. Dom's, and my younger one, I'm homeschooling. I mean, it's just, it's one thing to be supporting your local school, and you feel like, I get it. If my kids don't go there, I still have to pay taxes because I'm part of the community. But it would be a lot easier to swallow if this were a good school. I know the teachers have great intentions. I know the people that are working there are really trying. But the curriculum and the way that it's structured is designed to fail.
It's based on their charter.
And it's just, if I have to pay that much money in taxes, I would like at least the kids to be coming out and be able to make a first-year college, be able to participate in college and not have to have remedial courses and have tutors and have all sorts of additional help just so that they can be baseline.
And I think the overarching point is, if we're going to pay this much money to live in Poland, I sent all my 3 kids to St. Dom's because Whittier was good. Middle school, high school, I can't say enough things, but we went out of pocket to put kids in a private parochial school that was local enough because the school stinks. And to spew this much money is unbelievable. If it was a business, you'd been broke in the first 2 weeks. If it was, if I owned it, I'd shut it down and start over. So I don't know. I mean, I know that's not you guys. That's an entirely different operation with the school board and so on, and the school itself.
If there were some goals that could be met or some way to measure this that isn't ridiculous. I mean, but what's our money going towards?
Yeah, bang for your buck, nothing. And we're going out of pocket to go somewhere else.
Yeah, this issue is so multi-layered. We could talk to you all day on this because it's serious and it's so complex. There is some important dates coming up. If you're interested, I've seen an email circulating around that the Department of Education is actually going to be at Central Maine Community College tomorrow evening. You can still register to attend that, but that would be very interesting. I unfortunately need it.
I'm already registered.
Excellent. Because I think a lot of these issues, even just the curriculum, like there's so many mandates and things required of the schools these days that it's the priorities are certainly skewed. And I mean, Augusta is swimming in the dough, and why aren't our schools seeing that, right? So.
Yeah, somebody told me, and I can only say it because somebody told me, I don't have any hard evidence, that the state of Maine is now 50th in
Behind
graduating
Mississippi?
level of, we're now below Mississippi.
But you know,
Louisiana?
when
Yeah.
I moved here from out of state, I moved here in 2011, Maine was among the highest in the nation.
Yep.
I mean, I substituted the last couple of years in some of the RSU 16 schools. It's painful. It's painful to see what was in there. I mean, the kids, and I understand that COVID played a part and a lot of kids didn't get an education, but it's painful to see and hear what's going on. I mean, these kids deserve better. And they're not going to be able to function productively in any meaningful way.
So factually, there's a school in Connecticut, I won't name the school, but you can look it up, and they went the same route that many small towns were going, and it used to be one of the biggest, largest high schools in, I'll say, the state Connecticut. It's so bad now that they have to combine their football teams to make one football team, and they have to get a father to come in and voluntarily coach. And they lost 30% of their student body. So, sacrifice, the school teaches sacrifice, I think they're missing the point.
I think we should pay school teachers $80,000 a year and have them be competent and teach a decent curriculum.
You know,
And it would be $100,000 a year. And we'd still be under budget if we had.
when there's no accountability,
Oversight.
listen, so here's the bottom line. When there's no accountability, this is what you get.
Right, there's nothing to measure. There's no,
And so we're here feeling the pain just like you guys are. We're residents as well. My wife had to make sacrifice. We gave up $2,000 a month to homeschool our kids because of the school here as
Right.
well. And that was 16 years ago.
But your taxes went down by $2,000 a year, right?
Yeah, we're all feeling the pain, and it's too bad because you're right, the students are suffering. But again, we don't want to throw blame, but there's responsibility on the parent side and the school side. Somewhere it's got to meet in the middle, and they got to get back to being responsible together, really. But how do you manage that?
well, and I would just say that should the school continue in the same direction, there will be a continued loss of student body. And if our taxes continue to go up, there's going to be a loss of residents. I mean,
That's for sure.
I don't think you're going to get enough people from out of state buying up Poland property. I mean, to make up for it. I mean, we live on old farmland. There's just not that many people that are going to come from out of state to make up the difference, you know, that everybody's taxed out of their community.
So the idea, I guess, in the big picture, I'm not smart enough to know the remedies of how to fix this. I just keep paying the bills. And Nikki, you said there's a citizen referendum potentially?
Yep.
Who do I talk to about that? How do I don't know enough about this stuff.
If you want to come into the town office, I can give you the state statute that lists what the steps of doing that is.
Okay.
And tell you, and walk you through that state statute that tells you what the steps of it is. It requires you to get so many people from
the town to sign the petition to do it, and then it has to go to a public vote on whether they want to do it or not. And it will also require us pulling the RSU 16 formation documents to see what caveats they have in there as far as if it goes through, what does that mean for the property that was put into it, who does it go back to and stuff like that. Because as you know, the town of Poland did own the RSU 16 bus bay building and offices, PCS, along with the middle school and the high school. So it would take pulling those documents and looking at those and then pulling the state statute to see how you go about it. I do know, I believe it's Saco did it probably about 9 or 10 years ago, pulled out of their RSU down
Okay.
there. So that would be a good source to, talk to them about how they did it too. I don't know if there's anybody more recent than that, but I do know Saco did do it.
Can we just kick mine at Mechanic Falls out? I'm just saying. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so the RSU, if that ever actually happened, would be out of the RSU and it would be strictly on the town?
So then we could actually, one option is you then tuition your students to other area things, and like Greater Gloucester, let's say Oxford Hills, whatever, and you pay by state statute the average tuition across the state, which is roughly in the $900 to $9,500 range, where right now the town of Poland, in the current budget, we're paying $13,300 in our taxes. So, I mean, that's the state statute and the law of the situation of how. So before we even had high school, many of our people went to Edward Little, and they could in the future. They went to Wyndham, they went to wherever, and by state law, the parents can make the choice to where they want to send their kids, and we, the taxpayers of Poland, pay for that state average per student to whomever.
Gotcha. Okay.
Just at a very high level, that's
Yeah.
the structure of it. Yeah.
I'll be dead by then, probably.
Yeah, but, that's how it worked, and we used to live under that mode before we became an RSU 16. We lived under that, so.
Okay. I didn't mean to derail the whole
it's-
operation.
I did want to say on the cost sharing thing, so I'm going to be following this really closely to see what that tax impact is, if it's going to help Poland or not. And if the school board decides to move forward with it, great, it will have to go to referendum regardless. If the school board decides not to move forward with it, then we can still petition, we just have to have 10% of the voter base. I think 10% of whoever voted in the last gubernatorial
Last gubernatorial election.
So that's the next steps there.
Okay.
But they're at least taking it seriously and are looking at that.
Yeah, like I say, we didn't, we just said we want you to take it up. We didn't say how, given a personal opinion of, I would like to see it be 100% student count. There's a lot of people out there that don't understand why it's just a student count across the board. That's not what the structure is. We do have 46% of the students, so at the end of the day, we're going to pay at least 46% of the budget if it was 100% student count. So it's not that we're going to not pay more than the other two communities. That's the reality of it, but that is what it is. And certainly the attitude of, because your evaluation is higher, you can afford to pay more, is the wrong attitude to be presenting to the citizens of Poland, and that's the point that I've been trying to make. It doesn't mean what you've got sitting in your bank account to be able to pay these bills, or what you earn to be able to pay the bills and pay your taxes. It has nothing to do with the evaluation of your property. So,
Hey.
So,
Does it cost more for my kid to go to that school?
Unfortunately, that's how it actually got presented to you, to quote people, that's how it was presented. So, I just think there needs to be the right mindset and the right understanding and take on the issue, so.
Okay, so it'd basically be multi-tiered. The state's got to change, mandating that the town of Poland pays whatever the school board does with the evaluations, and if we don't pass the RSU budget, that goes into the fund and is taken off of next year. But that doesn't decrease my taxes.
So So, yeah, I think the whole state funding thing could change and not be hurting the communities like ours in the way that it is.
There was legislation passed in April forcing the Department of Education to look at the funding formula and EPS and all of that. But that's going on right now, but I think they have until like 2026.
I think it's 26 or 27.
Yeah, so I mean, it won't help us until 2027 if it does, but that's.
I'll be in Florida then. No, never mind.
Also, the district meeting, there is a typo on here.
It's supposed to be the
The
5th.
5th,
Sorry.
yeah. So RSU district meeting, that's when they go through every single article and open it up for discussion and the community can vote. So that step has to happen before it goes to referendum again. So that's really a great opportunity if you want to, let your voices be heard and ask questions, and that's the opportunity to do that about this budget.
Okay.
Just so you know, at the last meeting, there were something like 70 people that were there.
Yeah.
But there were only probably about 50 residents, 55 residents. The rest were people who were in the school board or connected with the school in some way.
Yeah, dismally low turnout.
Yes.
I was there.
Traditionally, actually, the last one that I just went to was probably the one that was most popular. I had been there when there was 8 people between the 3 towns that showed up. So, yeah, I mean, it's hard when you've got 15 members of the school board sitting there, but if you make a motion and it's seconded and it passes, it's the number of people there that are voting residents of the 3 towns, and one more person votes in favor of any motion, that's what carries the floor, and the school board can do nothing to change it.
Well, when we went, last one I went to, it was all teachers on the right-hand side. And over here was like 9 Poland residents.
It was the same.
Yep. So, I keep trying to say that that's really where a lot of leverage is. Yes, you can vote it down at the referendum, but that just means you go through the process again and do more expense again, and you don't really address the issue.
Can I just make a suggestion? I know if you look at any of the social media and the Poland community page, everybody keeps saying that nobody knows when any of these things are. But every time anybody builds anything anywhere near my house, I get a bright red piece of paper in the mail that I automatically look at. If you were to send something out, like on yellow, saying there's a meeting, people would look at it. They might not look at their social media, and they probably don't check the town. But if you sent a little piece of paper like you do every time somebody is building something and there's something, code sends that out and it's red and everybody sees it.
The RSU sends out a mailer, and they're sending out another one as well.
They sent,
Yeah, it's usually like a piece of paper like this folded with a bunch of information on it.
Yeah, we'll be sending a similar document out later this week. So that's a really good idea, and we're going to do that.
Put on a piece of green paper or something.
You'll be getting a Poland newsletter.
On white paper, one piece of paper, so go through your mail and look at it. Before we get lost in too much more discussion, can we get a vote on countersigning the RSU 16 warrant?
Yes.
Okay. Mary Ann, you were not here for the motion, so I'm going to keep you out of the count of it. John DeSantis.
Yes.
Stan Tettenman.
Yes.
Steve Robinson.
Yes.
Lisa Elby.
Yes.
By a vote of 4-0, you have approved countersigning the RSU 16 warrant to call forward an election on September 17th, which is a Tuesday, from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. at the Poland Town Hall for Poland residents. Minor Mechanic Falls residents can vote same time frame at their polling places.
Steve, I'd like to make a motion.
Okay. Can you make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that once the RSU 16 school budget passes via referendum, that we send out revised tax invoices to people.
We talked about that. It depends on how much the tax bill is lower.
Do we need
It
a
might
second?
be,
Do we need a second before we have a discussion?
Yes, go ahead.
I second.
Thank
So
you.
we can have
Oh,
discussion.
Discussion.
I would say that 500 grand is the difference between the two budgets and the amount of money that we'd be repatriating to taxpayers. It's not that much per taxpayer. I'd also need to check the state statute and see if there's any statutory rules about that. But I'll tell you, it's very frustrating because voters rejected the budget recently. They said no. But yet that is the budget that was used to set taxes. So that,
By state statute, we had to.
you know, we had no choice there, but we're working with our state rep who is receptive to amending that, to basically saying that the school, instead of going, so what happens is the budget fails at the referendum. They say you have to go back to the last time that a budget was passed. Well, the letter of the law is it was at the district budget meeting. So they vote to send that to referendum. It fails at referendum, but because the district budget meeting voted in favor of it with that small number of people, that's the one that we're using to commit taxes. So what we're trying to do is get that statute amended so that it would be, the school would use the last budget passed at a referendum, which would mean, in effect, they'd used last year's budget, just like everybody else in the state.
Until they can pass a budget.
Yeah, how do we go about aiding that on our end?
Well,
As
right now,
people paying the money?
Sure, so where are we with that? It's early days, just talking to our state rep, who, you know, so all that's transpired so far is I've asked him, hey, are you willing to get involved with this? He said, yes, I'm receptive to it. We've exchanged a few emails where I've suggested some language, which is just a suggestion at this point, so we can wrap our heads around how we're going to word this, because as I found out, because I've tried to change the statute for a different RSU-related thing, that these things all are interrelated, so you've got to figure out how that's going to work. But so at this early days of getting involved with that, our state representative is receptive to the idea. He's willing to talk to us, and we've started that conversation. How folks can help is, as we get a little farther down the road, if it gets to the point where it gets a hearing in Augusta, then people can go up and testify in favor of it.
Okay.
And if that's the case, then we'd make that known so folks should come up, and that has a lot of impact when you do that. The last time I was up there testifying for something on the RSU, I was the only person testifying on the pro side, and there was about 4 or 5 folks from the education side of the house that were testifying against it. So don't think that your voice doesn't matter up there, particularly when you're looking at numbers that small.
And how do we know when these things are going to happen?
Well, we can let people know in town, but our newsletter or the town website, that sort of thing. But I don't think we're going to see any movement on it very quickly, because it's, it takes some time to get support, because he's going to have to talk to some of his colleagues in the House, figure out, hey, is there enough support to move forward here? If there is, can we draft it? Then it's going to go through some vetting with some legislative analysts to make sure that the language of the proposed change is okay, and there's other steps to go through. So it's not a quick process, but it can be done. We can get up to the point where at least we have a hearing in front of a committee.
And then it would have to go to a vote.
Right.
I do
By
have
the
revised
legislature.
numbers of
What's
what
that?
they're proposing.
Just by the
to support,
legislature.
too. I can share with you.
They have the full power
Yay.
at the full legislature level.
I don't have a lot of confidence,
Yeah.
even if we get that far.
Yeah. But so a bit of a long road ahead, but it's not impossible to do that. And as things develop, we'll keep everybody appraised of where we are.
Okay.
I think because the towns have to operate under that as a big leverage point.
And Lewiston is going to say, absolutely not.
Again, it comes down to the budget they pass. They haven't passed a budget either. So, or they just recently
And I can
did.
see why. Gosh, their mill rate is $28.50, which is double ours.
What are the
That's awful.
valuations?
That I don't know, but, so the other thing about the valuations is the state sets the valuation, and we had to, last year, increase it just to get in compliance. We have to be within a certain percentage of what the state says our homes are worth. So they dictate that number, which is really frustrating.
So before that last motion gets lost, can I just ask that if there could be a motion to table that, just so we could check the state statute and have some time to make sure that that is something that's even doable, that we can send out new bills
Yeah.
before you guys vote on it? That would be great if we could do that and bring it back to the next meeting to you guys. We would just need a motion to table it to the next meeting.
Does it have to be somebody besides Mary Ann?
She made the motion, so she would have to motion to table it.
Yeah, I'm fine with tabling it. I did hear that Minot is planning to do this, so I think that municipalities do have that say, but it requires board approval. But I'm fine with you doing the due
So
diligence
Monday's
and making
doable,
sure.
okay?
Yeah, we just want to make sure
Yeah.
that that's within what we can do.
Mhm.
So
Get the
next.
second on
Yeah,
that.
Oh, second? I second that.
okay. So we'll table that motion to the next meeting, and we'll bring you guys back some information once we get it
Do
together.
we
And
have to vote on the table?
What?
Do we have to vote on the motion to
We're
table?
No, because the motion was pulled, so there's not a motion
Oh, okay.
out there anymore.
Yeah, so, I mean, yeah, we'll certainly have it on the next agenda, and I think it's it's a reasonable thing to do and consider.
So we can get some more information, that's all.
Yeah.
Sure.
I just want to make a comment, and Steve, you know this. We can send out flyers, you can post stuff, but I think word of mouth, citizen residents getting the word out to attend, we need to be more involved.
Absolutely, I mean, look,
Yeah.
two of us.
It's all right, it's just, hey, it's two more than it was last week, so.
Yeah.
So we need to keep it going, that's,
Well, I think with the sticker shock of those bills, probably there's a few people that
Yeah.
are more
Yeah.
motivated.
Many people have been calling me and emailing me to the thing of, and they think their budget's gonna pass after just receiving the tax bills.
mm.
Well,
That's gonna be.
That's probably true. I mean, in addition to the ridiculous assessment of our properties, thinking that much of your taxes are going to a school that is
Failing children?
underperforming, it's a,
Yep.
that just makes you a little more aggressive and wanting to see at least something good happen with,
That's, I think that, the school board just kind of deals with what they're given, and they just follow along unanimously with everything, and I think the school board has to take on the action of understanding why students are leaving the school. And I think if they begin doing that and uncover testimonies like yourselves, and I've heard the testimony from others that's very similar, that those types of things, they've got to take that control, and I think the school board has to take control of what's going on. They are ultimately the authority to be done, and they need to mandate some direction that they want to have taken, whatever that appropriate direction is, but something needs to change. Again, personal opinion.
Who does the school board answer to?
Us, ultimately. We vote for the 5 members coming from Poland, but.
Are you guys satisfied
But again,
with the job you're doing?
if you go to the meetings and we have represented, one of us has always been at the meetings, I was at it for years or whatever, you're the only game in town that's there for the most part, until something dramatic happens that, wakes up the situation that becomes the negative thing that uproars people for the moment to any particular issue. But the reality is nobody goes and shows, and if you look at the thing, they just, there isn't they all just follow along, they don't really question anything. I don't hear people asking questions, they make poor decisions on how they financially operate things and how they present things. Again, personal opinions here.
Yeah.
Can I interrupt for just a moment, please? When Steve asked who votes them in, and you said we do, I think you meant the voters of
The
Poland.
voters of Poland, that's
Not
correct.
not us, five up
Right,
here.
yeah.
But, and who do they answer to? I mean, who do they answer, I mean, who do they answer to?
Us, constituents.
Us as
The
the
town.
The
population.
town, community,
Yeah.
because, yeah.
Well, as
vote for
voters,
Yeah,
Yeah.
when it
I
comes
think,
time to vote again,
you know,
if you don't like what's going on, then you have to get somebody to run for the school board.
Not a lot of options.
Mm-mm.
Nobody wants to do it.
Well,
I
Yeah,
don't blame
we
them.
had 2 openings on
That's a
school
problem.
board for Poland and only 2 people that ran, so of course they got voted in. So I mean, there's not a lot
but
of.
I do think, you know, you go to the website, there's their email addresses, there's the things. I do think that the citizens need to be calling and applying the pressures. At the end of the day, we kind of set the tax rate, and we get a lot of feedback in doing the things, and that was kind of the point that was made to the superintendent and others last week. We were there as a meeting, was, you know, at the end of the day, you don't seem to have to answer for what decisions you guys are making in doing the things. You just seem to not have to skate free. You don't have to take ownership of the problem. So I think the only way that changes is the citizens talk to those people and have discussions with those people and give testimonies to those people to why their students are no longer there, or whatever's happening, whatever the results are. I mean, I can't, you know, people need to make their own choices. I can't tell them what to say, but I do think that it needs to be said, because I think at the end of the day, that's the only way we're gonna get off the top of the mountain or out of the valley, or whatever. however you-
I also was.
What I keep hearing too is the valuations in Poland keep going up. And what I do want to share is we have to be in a certain percentage of what the state values the town at. Right now, the state values this town at $1.2 billion. We only tax on $876 million worth of value. That's how far below we are what the state says we should be valued at. So,
Even after this last tax hike?
yep, that's as of this year. So the state is the one that's running those value numbers up, and we have to be within so much of them, otherwise we lose our state revenue sharing, we lose more school subsidy funding, and we pay more in county taxes if we're not close enough to what the state says we are valued at. So again, they're the ones that are pushing our values up, and we have a revalue coming down the road because we're required to do it, because we're gonna fall below that state minimum. And so every property in Poland's gonna be revalued, and I think it goes effective fiscal year '27 tax bill.
One of the other issues is the way that property values are assessed. And one of the reasons that our property values are going up so high is we're fortunate that we have lakes here, and lake properties have gone up. But if somebody has lived in their home, or, you know, any place in their home for a long period of time, and they see what their home is valued now, they probably wouldn't be buying the home because they couldn't afford it. So that gets into a state system of how homes are assessed. And, you know, so as somebody said, this is a multi-layered deal of trying to fix the problem. And that's one of the issues also.
I think it's not a matter of taxation or valuation, it's a matter of spending. And that's the issue I have with the school specifically. Substandard education, massive, massive facility that you can do. I mean, I built a lot of places. I guarantee you, even a commercial code, when that place was built, it was, I don't know what the overruns were, but it was probably 3 times what that place should have cost. I know Semino cut all the wood and he sold the land and all that stuff, but whatever. And it was overpaid for. And whoever negotiated the deal with Minot and Mechanic Falls for however it worked, the ratio at the time, was ludicrous. It was insane. So it worked for 5 years, and it stopped working, and nobody had the thought that, hey, let's revalue this every couple years. We'll figure out how many kids go, what the tax basis is. So we've had the same structure for how long? 15 years?
Oh, remember, when everything is going well, none of us think about stuff like that. When things are going great in our house, we don't think of any consequences of overspending. It's, hey, happy, happy-go-lucky. Well, now the chickens have come home to roost.
There's only a problem when there's a problem.
Right. So here we are. The economy's not well. It's poor timing, part of it. But but again, residents need to start you've heard me, right? I don't know how many times I gotta scream it. Residents need to start getting involved. We shouldn't wait for something that we don't like. And that includes me too, before I got
But you can't see the future, I understand that.
Right. But getting involved is important now at this stage. So that's what we all agree on, is that we all need to get involved together as a team.
I agree.
So, and not be enemies and yelling and screaming at each other, and going by facts, not feelings, and present the facts. The facts are what they are.
And it's just, I guess it's a framework. Everyone knows how everybody else feels. That's not an issue. How to go about affecting change is the issue.
Right.
Because I don't know how to do it. I just spoke with Mickey about potentially doing something like that. And I mean, I don't know what to do or how to do it. And I guess that's why we look to you guys.
Yeah.
You know, give us some sort of direction, some sort of framework, something. Because everyone agrees it's an issue, it's a problem. How do we address it? I guess that comes to you guys.
Well, two things right off the bat. Voting, making your voices heard, and making that sacrifice to come to the meetings, get your voices heard. Again, I'm going to keep using this word. The school board uses that at its meeting and teaches our kids sacrifice. I think everybody needs to keep that in their head, because there's going to be a lot of sacrifices coming down the road, and we need to adapt to that. So,
Gotcha.
Any other discussion on this?
I do have the latest numbers. If
Sure.
you want me to share that?
Yeah, anything you can bring.
So at the latest budget meeting, they have reduced the budget by $388,095, but increased the carryover funds in the amount of $500,000. So the total reduction is $888,095. So what that does for the tax impact on 100,000 K home, again, that's for easy math. So Poland, that impact was 197, that's been reduced to 136.
I'm sorry, how much?
136 is the new number. So it's about it's a $61 per 100K reduction.
I have a question. You might know the answer. So while they're cutting the budget, are they also trying to add new positions as well? Is that taken out of the budget as well?
There's no new positions.
Are they adding?
In the last proposed budget, they had cut some positions.
Yeah, I thought one was at the
The
last
new
meeting.
revised doesn't cut any positions, but what helped with the reduction is that the timing, because we're so close to the school year starting, they actually have new hires, so they have to budget and kind of forecast what those numbers will look like in terms of salaries and benefits. They have real numbers to get because of school starting soon and people are applying and yada yada. And so a lot of the savings was just from new hires. So lower salaries and benefit packages.
Oh, and there was, I think, someone retiring or something too. I believe.
Yeah, on the administrative side, they had, the administrative assistant was retiring, so they cut that position.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're taking $500,000 out of their leftover
Yeah, that.
and rolling it. So from a
that
budget
is-
perspective, it's down $300,000. To a tax impact, it's $800,000 because they're taking $500,000 out of their undesignated funds and applying it to help reduce taxes, which is nice, but the reality is your starting point of the next year starts with the 500,000 higher.
That's basically the bank account balance.
Right.
What do they have in the bank that can pay for things that are unexpected? So they talked about that. So I guess last year, so for fiscal year '24, that fund balance was at about 1.5 million. They've only had to use about 200,000 of that, so they felt comfortable carrying over more from the general fund. So this year, the general fund will be reduced to about 1,154,000 because of that additional 500,000 tax relief. So yeah, it makes sense to do that. People were asking if that could be done, so they decided to go ahead and do that.
Is there a mandate to maintain a certain amount of money in that account?
Yeah, I think it's 5%, is what they're saying. And that does get audited. So the state looks at that and they have to use some of that for tax relief. They're expected to, but yeah, there's a minimum that they have to have.
Okay, anything further on the school? If not, we can move on to the next thing and talk about our tax commitment discussion. Obviously, a lot of what we just talked about fits into that. What else do you want to bring forward?
Whatever you want to talk about, go ahead.
Okay. So we do have a newsletter that we have prepared, seeing some of the comments on Facebook and stuff that's going to, it's an every door direct mailing, so it will be in your mailboxes. It will go out Thursday morning and should be in your mailboxes by Saturday morning, so please look for it. And it does explain different things. It explains, we have the dates of the upcoming school meetings in it. It explains about our tax commitment, how much more it is, how much is county, municipal, and school, and where those increases come from. It explains that we do offer a senior tax assistance program for those over 70 years old who have received the state property fairness credit on their income taxes, that they can come out and fill out an application. It's a quick two-sided application, basically name, address, signature, and whatever you get for your property tax fairness credit from the state, as long as we have the funds available, we reimburse you with 50% of that. So if you get 400 back from the state, we'll send you a check for 200 the first week of September if you qualify. One of the other things that we want to make sure people know is that we don't offer formal payment plans. However, you can make as many payments as you want. You do not have to make it in one lump sum to us, or in our case, 2 lump sums. You can make monthly payments. However, by our town meeting, if you haven't paid your first half of your taxes by November 1, you will receive an 8.5% interest rate on whatever is left over until it's paid off. But you can come in, we have people who pay weekly, we have people who pay monthly. We have people who pay, in their 2 payments, we have people that pay at one lump sum. We will accept payments at any time. And if you pay by check, you can even drop it off when we're closed to the drop box out front, and we will send you a receipt that we got it. So just letting people know that, you don't have to make that all in one payment if you can't afford it. You can break it down into whatever's convenient for you. The newsletter also explains why some people's taxes went up more than 21%. And the reason for that is the state tax stabilization program that the state did last year for those that were over the age of 65, where they could freeze their taxes. They froze them for 1 year. They did away with the tax program, so now you're making up the increase that was last year plus the increase this year. So seniors over 65 who were in that program are seeing anywhere from a 34% increase to a 41% increase on their taxes this year. And that is due strictly to the state doing away with the state tax stabilization program. And also it has in the newsletter on the back side how you can know about what's going on and where in our town, and it gives you different avenues that we have We have this meeting here every first and third Tuesday of the month where you can attend in person, attend by Zoom. Also, usually Eric Peterson is great about doing a follow-up on the Wednesday morning following our meeting with what happened. So if something piques your interest in that paper follow-up or whatever, and you want to know more, give us a call. We're glad to share with you and talk with you. You can stop by the town office here. And the biggest thing I can give you to get information is we all use the transfer station. They have it posted up there. Look at their windows as you drive by and throw your trash, ask questions. They're more than happy to help you out any way they can. And usually we have things posted up there of when meetings are going to be and stuff like that too.
Thought you were talking about Marvin.
Yes.
He knows everything.
He does, and so he's a great avenue to go. If you don't get down here to the town office to talk to us, ask up there if you have a question, and if he doesn't know the answer, he'll make sure he knows it by the next time he sees you.
One other avenue is that, I don't know if it's by tomorrow, this videotape is available, so if people don't have time to watch on the night of the meeting or whatever, if they actually want to see what's going on, they can go ahead and get on the website and look at that.
Correct.
On the tax payment, what if people have their taxes rolled into their mortgage and their mortgage company pays the tax bill?
They're probably not gonna be able to do a tax payment then, unless they talk to their mortgage company, but I don't think they'll.
No, I mean, are they gonna get hit with that? What if it's paid?
The
quarterly?
mortgage companies always pay on time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they always pay on time. They don't want to pay any interest. They wait until the last day before it's due.
Oh, no,
But they
that's
do
good.
pay on time.
That's good to know.
Yeah, October 30th, they will pay us. So that's all that I had on that.
Any other tax commitment discussion? If not, we can move on to payables.
Make a motion that we pay our bills for the fiscal year 2025 in the amount of $1,607,181.16.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Roll call.
John DeSantis.
Yes.
Stan Tetman.
Yes.
Steve Robinson.
Yes.
Mary Ann Hawks.
Yes.
Lisa Alby.
Yes.
With a vote 5-0, you have approved the payables in the amount of $1,607,181.16.
Okay, any other business? John?
Nope.
Stan?
And the only thing I'd mention is with all this discussion tonight, and you folks were asking, how do you find out information? And, if we send out all this information and we put it out on websites and the articles in the paper, if people don't get involved, they don't take the time to get out and vote, things just aren't going to change. So you've got to get involved with the community. It's not like years ago that things just kind of roll along. Now we're running into these problems. So that's it.
Marianne?
No, just a reminder, Thursday, September 5th is the district meeting, and then the referendum vote is Tuesday, September 7th.
Not for me.
Nothing here.
Nothing?
So this says the 8th.
Yes.
It's wrong.
Error.
Okay.
I will correct it.
5. It's right in the newsletter, so.
Too many numbers this week.
But on the 28th is the school board meeting, correct?
Yes.
The next
Yep.
regular school board meeting is August 28th.
And all of their dates are
At
posted.
6:30.
Pardon me, I didn't mean to
No,
interrupt.
that's great.
All of their dates are posted on the RSU's website, RSU16 website. You can find all the dates for all the meetings.
And that's a good point, because you can go to a school board meeting and they're going to be reviewing the budget that the budget committee is recommending, and they're going to vote on it, and there will be opportunity for public comment. So you can sign in and say that you'd like to speak, and you can have that opportunity then too.
And this is going to be a hand vote?
This,
Yeah, it's just the school board
It'll be a vote of the
members.
15 members of the school board. If
Oh, they're gonna
all
vote
there,
on it.
They will vote.
Yeah.
You just get to like coming here, you get to voice your opinion and, make your points.
Okay.
And I think that some of the points that you made tonight, it would be great for yourselves or others like you that I've heard it from to actually go and make those points to the school board. They need to hear this directly.
Yep.
On the 15th, excuse me, on the 5th, that's the.
But that will be what they
District
bring to the district
That's
meeting,
what
is
they-
whatever passes that
Yes, the
evening
whole- the
from,
townspeople.
from
Yeah.
them. So they could, as a school board, take that proposal and make more cuts, or pass it as is, or raise it, or whatever.
And then we vote on it.
And then we goes to the district meeting, gets voted on, and then whatever passes the district meeting comes to referendum on the 17th, that we signed the warrant to have the open polls on.
The district meeting on the 5th is set up like a town meeting.
And that's when you vote by hand, on September 5th.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay, I guess I will entertain a motion to adjourn. John seconded.
John DeSantis.
Yes.
Stan Tetman.
Yes.
Steve Robinson.
Yes.
Marion Hawks.
Yes.
Lisa Albee.
Lisa Albely?
Yes.
By a vote 5-0, you have adjourned the meeting. Have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you.